Good morning, everyone. Quick question. We've all heard of vibe coding, right? But have you heard of vibe analyzing? Anyone? Wala? Right, that's quite interesting. Don't worry, it's not about reading someone's aura. And no, we're not gonna discuss how to vibe code, not even how to vibe analyze. Today, we're gonna discuss how to engineer a system that would allow us to leverage AI agents in order for us to interpret patterns, analyze data, and provide recommendations like a human analyst would. Alright, so I've been quite formally introduced today, but this is how I actually want to introduce myself. I'm a serial generalist, so I do freelance and consulting work for small companies, wearing multiple hats, which just translates into being a master of none, and I'm quite okay with that. So most days I translate business questions into Python bugs, and I develop stuff that hopefully don't break, and I write about them like I knew I was doing all along. Shameless plug, I write on medium.com. So that's one of the ways I share my journey online. I learn in public. And as you can see in the screenshot on the right, so that's the LinkedIn post I have when I publish this exact project that I'm going to share with you today. And one thing I like about learning in public is I get to connect with a lot of data practitioners. As you can see on the second picture on the right, that's the Data Engineering Pilipinas South Meetup that I organized a few months ago, wherein I connected with data engineers and we ranted about the daily challenges of dealing with messy data over board games. So that's what I'm passionate about, making tech more welcoming, even though it's challenging, and it's open even for those who are just curious without the requirement of being a master of anything. All right, so before we discuss the hows of this project, let's see the what's and the why. So why I built this project. So I was rebuilding my portfolio because I want something to showcase to potential clients what I'm capable of. So I built this ecom phase 1, which is an end-to-end data engineering pipeline, which starts with using Python to generate synthetic data using the Faker library. And then I load it into S3 and Postgres in order to mimic the idea of being able to extract from multiple sources. And then I transform the data using Python and dbt to make it readily available for downstream use cases such as business intelligence or machine learning, and then loading them into Snowflake. On phase 2, I migrated from Snowflake to DocDB. And then for ecom phase 3, I built a business analytics project with SQL. I also started with the R and Power BI project, but I haven't able to complete them yet because of shiny object syndrome. When AI agents started to hype up, I decided to jump into it and build ecom phase 4, which I'm gonna share with you today. All right, so what motivated the exact use case? So who among you here have probably are writing SQL or writing select star from where multiple times a day more frequently than you brush your teeth? Just a few? All right. A lot of data practitioners do, and I'm one of it. So as a data practitioner, I always get ad hoc questions from stakeholders instead of me being able to focus on the main project. So those ad hoc requests are often one-off and not scalable. So I asked myself, what if I could just talk to my data, not literally, but close? So instead of me writing 10 lines of SQL, what if I use natural language in order to query my data? And in that sense, that would actually be helpful as well for other business stakeholders, such as, for example, CEOs, marketers. They don't have to learn SQL. They could just use natural language in order to vibe analyze the data warehouse and ask questions. And the AI agents can answer them even though they don't understand, or even though they don't have to write SQL, right? So in this example here, as you can see, we have the interface for the e-commerce AI analyzer. I entered here what are the monthly revenue trends. So the analyst agent, which I'm gonna discuss later, shows here some three main insights: the overall trends analysis, seasonal patterns, and recent performance. So it's quite small, but I'm gonna show a demo later by the end of this presentation. And another agent, which is the consultant agent, provided some key recommendations here that are actionable. And then here are the charts generated by the one of the agents as well, the analyst agent. All right, so now that we know the what and the why, let's discuss the bird's eye view of how the system works. So I'm not going to discuss all of the components here in detail. We're going to focus on LangGraph for this talk. But for the front end, I used React and TypeScript. And then for, I also use Fast API to handle the incoming request from the front end, and then it outputs the results from the AI analysis back to the front end. And then here we have the Snowflake as the warehouse for the synthetic data that I use for this project. And then we have a Python function that is used as a tool um, by the data extractor agent. And then Claude for Sonnet is the main model I use for the three agents. And then we have LangGraph, which orchestrates the three agent workflow. All right, so what is LangGraph? So LangGraph is just another framework for building multi-agent workflows wherein each node or agent can reason, act, and share state within a structured directed graph. So let's talk about the core components of LangGraph first before we demonstrate it. So the state is technically the application's shared memory. So it is a data structure that stores the context of the entire workflow. Conceptually, you can think of it like a whiteboard. So imagine you're in a stakeholders meeting wherein, for example, one participant starts with a topic and writes that topic into that whiteboard, and then another participant consumes that information and then maybe get some ideas and write those ideas into the whiteboard. Another participant chimes in and then make more recommendations, and another maybe makes decisions based on the accumulated information. So that is what we can represent or think of what state is. So the participants can be a representation of the node. So the node is the workers of your graph, wherein each node has a specific function or responsibility. For this specific project, so I have a node that extracts the data from Snowflake, and another node is the one providing insights, and another is providing recommendations. So think of it like an assembly line, or better yet, a kitchen, because I'm hungry now, it's almost lunch. One chef is the one responsible for example, chopping or preparing the ingredients. One chef is responsible for grilling the meat, and another is responsible for plating until something goes wrong and Gordon Ramsay says it's raw. All right, so that Gordon Ramsay representation is like a supervisor agent, which is very common in the today's AI architecture. But for this project, I actually didn't use a supervisor agent. Right. So zooming out, we have the graph. So it is the blueprint that defines the connections and the workflows. So think of it like a roadmap wherein each city is a node, and then the roads are the data paths. So it is the one defining the directions, sequences, and decisions. Using the same analogy, side note, so that is a picture of the Ticket to Ride board game. So the edges could be the roads, or we can also say the train tracks that provide control or which dictates which node should run next. And then conditional edges are like traffic lights that guide logic based on specific conditions. And then tools. So think of tools like the utensils of the chefs. So it could be the knives, the pans that enable the chefs to do more. So instead of them like cutting the meat with their fingers, right? So they use knives. So we use tools with AI agents in order to make it more capable because we don't want to have the entire workflow be overcomplicated with AI because we don't want everything black box. And of course, less AI, of course, means potentially cheaper, right? So going back to the Gordon Ramsay analogy, let the knives do the work. So if a task or a problem can be solved by a simple logic or a even traditional machine learning, then let the those simple functions to do their jobs instead of overcomplicating with AI. So don't get bored of me yet. So these are other core concepts of LangGraph. So there are the start and end nodes, which are the terminating points of your workflow, which defines the beginning and the end. The tool node is just like a node that I explained earlier, but for tools instead of agents. And then the state graph, which is the main pipeline for where the data flows, and then the runnable, which is like a run button for the graph. So now, putting it all together, as you can see, it starts with the start node in orange, and then it starts with the user asking, what are my top products? And then based on that, the data extractor says, let me grab your top products from Snowflake, and then it calls in the get top products tool, and then fetches the data. And then once it fetch the data, it then now pass it to the analyst agent because you have an edge from the data extractor to the analyst. And then analyst says, I have products, but I need sales trends to give you a complete picture. Analyst sounds like a real stakeholder, demanding stakeholder. All right, so it updates the state, and the state has a field called needs more data, which is set to true by the analyst agent. So once it's set to true, the routing decision goes back to the data extractor, and data extractor says going back for sales trend, and then fetches more data. And then it passes it back to analyst agent, and analyst says, perfect, now I have everything. Here's your analysis. So now it generates insights and charts. And then once it generates the charts and insights, it sets the needs more data to be false. So now it moves to the consultant agent. The blue node, the last blue node there. And then the consultant agent is connected via an edge to the end node. And consultant says, based on this analysis, here are the 3 ways to increase product revenue. And then the system completes. So going in a more low level here, these are just screenshots of 2 of the 7 tools that I've utilized for this project. One is a get sales metrics function, which is just a function that extracts data from Snowflake. Specifically, it gets the core KPIs such as total orders, total revenue, and then filters it in a given start and end date, and then returns those data. And then another one is the get customer lifetime value, which is just a function that joins 2 tables, customers and orders, and then performs some aggregation, and it returns the top customers based on lifetime value. So those 2 tools are being added or binded to the data extractor agent, aka the data engineer. But before we discuss the data extractor, included in the screenshot as well is the e-commerce agents class, which defines the main system which connects everything. So it connects the large language models, the tools, the memories, and the LangGraph workflow. And then the data extractor is just a function which acts as an intelligent agent that is capable of understanding the query of the user and then it has the ability to determine which data is needed and determine which function will do the job best. So in the prompt, as you can see, in the prompt, it includes the available data functions. There are 7 of them, and then it's instructed in the prompt that it has to determine what data to fetch and be specific about the parameters. The screenshot on the right are just additional logic that is used to parse the decisions of the data extractor in order to call the correct functions distinguished by the data extractor agent. And then the analyst agent is the reasoning layer of the system, which is now it's capable of reviewing the data provided to it, and then based on the query that is also passed and read by the analyst from the state, um, it's capable of saying, hey, the data is not enough, so fetch me some more to the data extractor. And then once it's enough for analysis, then it would provide insights and chart configurations. Then lastly, we have the consultant agent, aka the data scientist, of which it reads the analysis from the data analyst agent and provides 3 to 5 recommendations. So it could be recommendations about pricing adjustments, campaign optimizations, or customer targeting. So it is the layer that converts analysis into strategy that is ready for business use. So let's invoke in, because this is the part where the main function that is exposed to the endpoint by the fast API is being invoked. So here we use the add node methods to define the 3 nodes: extractor, analyst, consultant. We have set entry point, data extractor. Then there's an edge between data extractor and analyst, conditional edge between extractor and analyst, and then analyst and consultant. And then the should continue function is defined on the right. So if it needs more data, it will just route back to wait, sorry, hindi siya naglo-load. Ayun, nag-load na. Oops, sorry. All right, so if it needs more data, it routes back to the extractor, and then if not, it routes to the consultant. So now, going into the demonstration, right? So think I have a few minutes left, so I'm gonna play this at 1.5x speed. So here I use Docker. All right. So this is just quick insights and then AI analysis. Here I entered how did sales trend over the last 30 days. So I did not do any SQL here. Then entered or click analyzing. And here you can see in the logs. So it's connecting to Snowflake. And so it's now in the analysis agent. And it has already produced some insights, and consultant already produced some recommendations. Here we can we can pause it here, wherein here you can see the insights from the analyst, summaries like key trend observations, high volatility with peak days, weekly patterns, revenue versus order volumes, and such. Here's the recommendations from the consultant. Here's that. So for example, establish early warning systems or optimize high-value customer experience. And then the analyst recommended 3 visualizations. Since it's about trends, it recommended to use line charts and some bar graphs. And then here's another example. Can you show me a breakdown of customers? So more on customer segments, right? So I actually have an article for this project and a repository that if you want to try for yourself, so you may do so. So I think my time's up. All right. So yeah, if you want to connect with me and let the algorithms work for us, scan this QR code for my that will lead you to my website. So on my website there are 3 icons there. And if you want to build the project or try the project, you may do so by clicking on the project link on that one pointed onto the by the arrow. That's it. Thank you.